Hello and welcome everybody to part two of our brand new series, the Timeline to Convergence. And today we are very delighted to welcome our special guest as part of the series, the one and only Vasumi from timewaves.org. Hi Vasumi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, David and Bella. Thank you for having me on your, what do you call it, a podcast or
Well, it
YouTube?
varies. Sometimes they're podcasts, sometimes they're series. It just depends how creative we are. But we're calling this a six-part series to the Golden Convergence of Timelines. It's incoming in the middle of October on the 14th and 15th. So we're going to be touching on that a little bit today, and also the passing of the Three Eye Atlas comet closest to the sun around the end of October. And we'll be having a look at some of the astrology and a few other things. But, you know, we're delighted to have somebody like you on this series, Vasumi, someone who's been working for such a long period of time. I think you said over 25 years or more, working with the Dream Spell. I think you worked with the brother Jose and Lloydine and Stephanie in the past. And now you've taken this out on the road even. You're on the road right now. And so we're delighted to do that too. But, you know, perhaps the best place to start, right, Bella, is to ask you, Vasumi, to introduce yourself to our audience and to give us a little flavor of how this has been happening for you.
Okay, so that's yeah, that's a big question. Where to start? Okay, so yes, I've been working with the codes for 28 years. I had a big awakening in India, and I knew I was here to teach. And then I was just being guided. I was pretty sadhu-like in those days. Just had a little bag, and so Spirit was guiding me, and it guided me first to the Flower of Life and the work with Drunvalo Melchizedek through incredible synchronicities. So I thought I was here to teach that, but that was 30 years ago. So was a bit before its time. Now everybody is knows about that work, and but in that time it was it wasn't going anywhere very fast. And then I was in New Zealand in Otahu, and I saw a flyer on the wall and about Mayan calendar, and I got this big rush up my spine, and that was obviously the sign. And so I went along to this workshop. I saw the Zolkin, and I felt like I knew it. And and that was the beginning. And that was with a woman called Christine Carter, who was a planetary sun. She was very good at teaching the logic. And a woman called Hermione, who was a cosmic knight who carried the spirit, what we say in New Zealand in the Māori language, it carried the wairua, which is, just the depth, you imagine cosmic night, the very presence of the underlying consciousness of the harmonic matrix. So she carried that, and that was the initiation. A few years later, I went to Mexico, went to Palenque, and that was incredible amount of synchronicities, and led me to seeing myself there in the 600s with a contract to come back at this time to share the codes. So I've been doing that ever since, and have created books and calendars and any way that I can to share the magic of this incredible system of consciousness. And so I'm Blue Rhythmic Monkey, born on Blue Rhythmic Monkey Day in the World Bridger cycle, the same cycle that Bella's born in, as Kin 69, red self-existing moon, and I'm Blue Rhythmic Monkey. So I organize a physical reality for balance and equality through playing with magic and playing with the codes and sharing wherever I go and teaching in order to bridge worlds, to be grandmother spider, weaving the web of connection across wherever I'm led. And at this point we're on a journey throughout New Zealand for sovereignty, so hence I'm in a van.
Beautiful. I love that you started with the sacred geometry part, because like myself and many people that I've talked to, I started working with the calendar probably in about 2008, 2009. And the first thing was I had already that passion about sacred geometry, and I was very deep into it. And I feel that those of us that already had that, it was like an easy and kind of normal way to go forward with this information. In fact, the navigation guide to quantum consciousness is all about sacred geometry and the tones, which is something I created for the website. And as you did as well, the first time I started receiving the downloads, I didn't have many tutors. It was very much self-taught. And every time I had a download, my spine would also, like, I had to lay down for a day or two because the downloads were so strong. I was like, okay, I know that this is not about going to the doctor. It is just a big integration of information, and it was always through my spine. So yeah, and the wave spell of the World Bridger. There are so many people in our tribe that are in that wave spell, and many world bridgers. And it feels like that is part of the mission with our tribe, to bridge the worlds to 5D, to new Earth, to the new time, to everything that we've been doing. So it's so good to have you here. Thank you, Vasumi.
Right, and in fact, we were just chatting with Vasumi before we hit record, just about the different ways in which people work with the 1320 and how it brings out different gifts and can be used in different ways. And we were just sharing that it seemed intuitive to us, not having been involved in all of that world when Jose and Lloydine were around and working together. We've, like Bella said, self-taught, and coming from a plant background and a more shamanic background, and then understanding once Bella had told me what my glyph was, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a cosmic skywalker. I've always been far out, and I tried to hide it because people thought I was weird. Now I've got permission to be myself, and that was such a liberating experience to go, I don't have to edit myself anymore. I am literally a cosmic skywalker. So I might as well have fun with that, with the plants, and then sort of realizing that the 13 days of a way spell gave us this perfect container, which is a skywalker who loves space and space holding, made so much sense. And so then it developed in that way for us, which perhaps is a little bit different from how you and others have also developed it. But I think that speaks of the adaptability of this universal time code system, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, we're all going to be doing it differently, because that's the beauty of the system, is that it speaks to our uniqueness. Yeah. And nobody's going to be working the codes in the same way. And because basically you get the logic, which is fairly simple. People tend to project that it's not simple, but actually when you want to learn it and really, get through all the blocks that we've received from school, and it's hard, it's difficult, like you just drop all that and just go from the mind of the child. The logic of the calendar of the Tzolk'in is so simple. Yeah. 13 and 20, 13 major joints, 20 fingers and toes, 260 days from conception to birth. The whole thing is so simple. Every day has one of the 13 that always repeats that order. Every day has one of the 20 that repeats that order. It's very simple. Kids get it immediately. Yeah. So, but, like once we get that logic, what is unique amongst each one of us is how we receive the frequency of that through our own experience, through our own coding. We will all get different feelings, different experiences of each code. And what becomes really, really exciting to me anyway, and I think to all of us, is that each receiving of a code, then we share that with another being, and that creates a greater understanding for all of us, or inner standing for all of us. You sharing your experience of a code, me sharing my experience of a code, the three of us sharing experiences of a code is going to be unique to each one of us, and then sharing that. That's the delight. That's why I love when we have calendar gatherings. In the old days with Jose, in Mexico, in different places around the world, we would all come together, and that would be so exciting because you got everybody speaking the same language and then willing to experiment. with that.
One of the things that we've been talking about is every time we talk to somebody who follows the codes and understands and has integrated the frequency, you can read it in their field as soon as you talk to them. So it's like we immediately switch into the same frequency, and there is a recognition, and it's a neatness as well of like, okay, like we've known each other for a long time, and we know what we're talking about, and then everything seems so much easier.
And conversations that would normally be far out about time travel and things like this and crazy combinations and synchronicity is the norm we've discovered in conversations. I mean, we had a really fun time with both Ruben and Mikura on the first part, and and now with yourself. And it's like, it's so easy to connect into the frequency because everyone's just kind of thinking in a different way, or not even just thinking, actually being, existing, living in a different way. And we really noticed that with all of the people that we've connected to who've been working with this system for a longer time than we have.
There is a lot of clarity you can read in the people that are following the codes. There is grounding. There is open heart. It's like, it's beautiful to be able to follow these connections.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. And so wonderful. I mean, I love how, and I've spoken this to you guys, how wonderfully together you guys are in the outreach of sharing the codes and everything else that you share. I wonder if at some point we create a gathering in the physical. And we used to have these gatherings, and there'd be 300 people. And so we'd put everybody in their tones. Yeah. And I remember this one experience. I was with all the rhythmic people, and there were maybe 10 of us or so, all rhythmic people, and we were all very busy organizing ourselves for balance and equality, and it was very obvious. And then another person came in and started trying to, it was just a very different energy and trying to
change things,
overlord us in some way. And rhythmic people, the whole thing of being rhythmic is equality. And so it's balanced. It works on the physical plane. And it's very grounded. And so we said to this person, "Are you sure you're rhythmic?" "Oh, no, I didn't know. I don't know if I'm rhythmic." And then so we decoded them, and they were magnetic. And it was just so obvious. It was so obvious. And those kind of experiences, when you get a whole lot of people together with the codes, are just, it's all so obvious. That it's such great teaching.
So there's been this initiative in our tribe where there is a call for all of the Skywalkers, or all of the planetary tones, or all of the eagles, and it's been amazing. They feel like you get to understand the other people and how they experience that tone or that glyph, and it is beautiful.
Right. I mean, I think I ran the first one with the Skywalkers, and out of the 13 different tones, I think we have 9 currently on our tribal glyph board, and we got into the conversation, and I'd say within half an hour, all of the Skywalkers' hired minds had all synced together, and the conversation went in a different direction after that. So once we'd all synced, and then once we shared that video with the rest of the tribe, I think there was an element of FOMO. So everyone started doing their different kins, and then somebody said, "Hey, that's really great, but let's do the planetary tones or the cosmic tones." And so what we've realized from these conversations within our community is, like, when you meet the other people who have the same glyph as you but a different tone, you get to see the differences between the electric tone, the magnetic tone, the rhythmic tone, and so on, but all under the banner of being Skywalker in this case. So then the conversation shifted to, like, how does it feel to be a planetary tone but across the different glyphs? And so we've kind of encouraged this really as a way of getting to know each other through our glyphs, but also getting to know ourselves and the differences between ourselves and others who are similar to us but have maybe a nuanced difference with the tone. And it's actually been really rewarding to do that. Yeah,
that's exciting.
Absolutely. Because as you say, the biggest learning in that is about yourself. Because that's your place of reference, inside each one of us, isn't it? And then you can watch others, and it's all about learning inside ourselves.
So before we started recording, we mentioned about you were saying about how each one of us expresses their galactic signature in a different way. Do you call it galactic signature, or do you have a different
expression.
Yeah, I call it galactic signature. That seems to be, somehow it's good to keep the terms that Jose put down as well. And I do that with most of it, although sometimes if I don't quite comprehend inside myself a term that has been used, I might find words that sit more deeply inside myself. There's probably a few of those. Not that I can remember right now, but it's free, it's open, it's this whole thing, each one of us is evolving the consciousness on, and so I don't feel like being stuck in something that doesn't like Jose might use a word for something that I don't quite understand, so I'll find my own word for that. Because it's all about our own uniqueness and our own for me it's our own uniqueness and our own authenticity. That's what the codes do, is they help us to be more authentically really who we are in the moment. So that
like bring more potential and be able to express it more openly and feeling more confident. I remember when David didn't know that he was a Skywalker, and once he realized, and he was like, so I can be myself. I can be myself now. Exactly. I don't have to hide. So it was not only a validation, but also he felt like empowered to you know what, I'm going to be myself now.
Yeah,
exactly.
And one of the other things I love about this whole system, Vasumi, which I'm sure you'll be able to speak to, is that it's experiential. It's really, I'm not the best person at learning things written down. I have to run them through my body medicine. Maybe that's part of being a Skywalker, so I can experience what it feels like, so I can find the resonant tone within me, so that I have the energetic anchor, so I understand the material that way. And we've been having this conversation for a couple of years now in our community about the need to upgrade our vocabulary, our language, and start referring to things in different ways. And certainly when you step into the dream spell on the 1320 calendar, it actually asks of you to upgrade your understanding of the vocabulary you use, the language you use, and the different terms that you use, but also not to be so technical that you can't be understood by anybody. So it really, in my experience, it promotes that sense of understanding through the experience, and rather than trying to learn all the kins and tones with your head, to just live through them. And I pretty much did that for the first two Zolkins, and then after that I sort of got more of a feel for the flow and the energies, then started learning the glyphs more precisely, and now it's all a lot more natural. And as you know, doing the daily video shorts has been really, really good for me and our audience, just to get into the flow of them. And now I feel the glyphs so much more easily because I've been speaking about them for the last 260 days or more, and so it's more natural. So anyone out there who's new to this material, I would really recommend just jumping in and not trying to learn it all. I didn't really have a clue what was going on for the first time I went around the Zolkin, but bit by bit, bits of information started to drop in, and somehow the threads started to weave themselves into something that felt coherent for me, because it was anchored in my body, and I just progressed from there.
And so the way we were able to transmit it through in the channel, it was like, okay, let's just start with the main glyph of this wave spell, and that's the energy. And then we brought another layer. Okay, let's bring now the wave spell. Let's bring now the castle. Let's bring now the moons. Let's bring the totem. So little by little, we've been able to layer. But I would be interesting to hear how you actually share it with people.
Yeah.
What is your approach when it comes to sharing?
So I'm Rhythmic Monkey. My favorite way to teach is at festivals, where I get a lot of people to deal with, like at least 100 and sometimes more. And then I decode everyone, or get some friends also who work with the codes decoding. And so we end up with everyone decoded. And then depends what we're working with. If we're working with the glyphs, if we're doing a teaching on the glyphs, then we put everybody in order in a big circle all around as the glyphs. So start with the yellow sun, red dragon, white wind, and a big circle. And then get everyone to relax and sit down. And then we get the yellow suns up. We begin with the yellow sun, the alpha, the omega, and then speak about the yellow sun. So everyone's looking at yellow sun people. I'm speaking words. The thing about being rhythmic monkey, it works on the physical plane, and it's monkey. So I remember, my friends laugh at me, I remember being a kid and going on journeys with my parents and putting my hands out the door and going, I want to be a movie star. And what that speaks to me is the child who likes to monkey the actress, you know, to be the child. And so my body is really good at embodying each of the glyphs.
Yeah.
So I very rhythmic works on the physical plane. So, and world bridges, so very surrendered. So this body is very good at embodying each of the frequencies. And so there's me, you know, being the child, playing around. That's how I love to teach. You know, it's very innocent, it's very childlike, it's very easy for people to receive. Because there's nothing, you know, there's no authority, you know, whatsoever, and it's silly and it's engaging, and I'm having the best time, which is wonderful. And so we walk slowly around, and then so yellow sun sits down, and then I ask the yellow sun people, okay, so can you relate to this? What is your experience of this? You know, so then they get to share as well. So people are getting it they're feeling the frequency, the spirit. So there's 4 planes through which we experience: the spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. What Jose called time, life, sense, mind, that goes through those 13 tones 3 times. And then on the 13th, so we come from spirit number 1 and return to spirit number 13. So people are then receiving on all of those planes. They're feeling the frequency. They're seeing the embodiment of that through my body and through those yellow suns. They're getting the excitement, the emotional, the feeling, and they're getting the mental plane. So it's a really good way to teach. So we go all around all of them. We get my experiences and my embodiment, and we get the experience of those people, and people get to look at it all. And so that's how I love to teach, and then do the same with the tones. So I think that's the way that it comes through this one to teach.
It's so monkey, isn't it? With play, it's perfect.
You know what?
Yes.
After being a teacher, I was a teacher like in primary school, secondary school, high school, even university. After you doing that for a few years, I realized that everybody loves playing and everybody loves music. So it's the easiest way to get people to open up and just receive when they realize that they are playing, and it's like they go back to their childhood, and it's the best way for people to learn. I had that experience teaching different subjects. I wasn't teaching this, but every time you go back to that, it's a hit. It always works.
Yes, exactly. And there's little it's kind of cool because you're playing also with the ego. I'm saying there's little ego. It's not that authoritarian, and you must, you know, because that's a lot of the resistance to get through when teaching the calendar is people's experience of school and all of that thing, you know. So people's brains are programmed in that weird way of how schools operate. And so that's one of the programming to get through and dissolve so that we can get to the natural mind, because in the natural mind, the calendar just makes sense, and it's really easy to learn because it's very step by step, harmonic, easy, natural order. So getting people to that step.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's got all the magic involved in it. It's what do we love the most? We love learning about ourselves.
Yeah.
It's an incredible tool with when you factor in the astrology, and you know, then you have your Mayan oracle and your glyph. You know, that's a lot of information that you come in with inherently about yourself. And even if we are now realizing that the Western tropical astrology is maybe a false identity that we've been given or inherited, and that maybe we need to look at the sky for the true one, it's still a lot of information that you can spend your whole life decoding about yourself. And then it's not really about the 3D version of you. It's about yourself as a cosmic soul being and all of the journeys that your soul has taken as an avatar for all of the incarnations. And so, it never really stops. And in the process of doing that, you start to connect at a higher unified collective field. And then it just takes a different aspect from there. So it's a really beautiful way to understand yourself.
Mm-hmm. So
and I love that in Lakesh, I am another yourself. So the more that you're sharing this, the more I'm learning about that aspect of myself, because we're all in everything. And yeah.
I was gonna ask, so do you follow astrology as well then, Vasumi?
Yes, I follow astrology probably longer, probably around 40 years of astrology only, and probably only in the last what's it been, probably 9 years into sidereal.
Beautiful. Okay.
Realizing that that tropical, it has a validity to it. How I see tropical, because it's working with the equinoxes and the solstices, I see the tropical, what it feels like inside my body is that's who we are within the system, within the power over system, who we are in order to operate within that constriction.
Yes.
And then when I started looking at the sidereal and who I am with that just spoke to my soul level, and just so much more relaxed and more like the codes, more real.
I love that you're doing it already, and we're just trying to align those two together with the 13 moons, the 13. We were talking yesterday about the 13 moons, the 13 tones, the 1320, everything is coming back to the 13 fully alive. And I feel that moment that we're about to experience, going back to the main topic of the conversation, which is the convergence of timelines, is having this interstellar object, 3i Atlas, which we don't know exactly what it is, but just the symbolism of it coming to make us all look at the sky and the constellations is like realign with what you're truly seeing, pay attention to what is up there and remember. So that's why I feel it came through the Serpent's constellation and Ophiuchus, and then started the journey towards Scorpio, Libra. It right now is in Libra, and then it'll be moving into Virgo. Doing the process like the way that Dr. Danny describes sidereal astrology, the journey of what did she call it? The cosmic healer journey.
Cosmic healer.
I think it's beautiful. It's like very prophetic right now, the experience of what is coming up.
So, in fact, that's probably a good segue to move into what we're going to talk about a little bit with you today, Vasumi, which is the astrology incoming, because I know you've been looking at it with the convergence point of the October 14th, 15th, but also when the 3i Atlas is closest to the sun, which coincidentally happens to be me and Ruben's birthday. Ruben, who we interviewed last time out, the 28th is both of our birthdays. So it's
both the Skywalkers as well.
Right. So that was quite the piece to meet somebody with the same birthday, and he's a solar Skywalker as I'm cosmic, but to have that glyph, I was like, wow, that's quite the thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
So maybe if I just pull it up, but also Vasumi, one thing I would like to get you to speak of before the end today is the journey that you're on with the sovereignty and how that's interspersing, and how the 1320 has been accepted and adopted by aspects of the Māori community in New Zealand, and how they're fusing it together, because that's also part of the journey that we're on. But maybe we'll have a little look at the astrology first and the charts that we pulled up, and maybe we'll finish with what you're up to, because, it's fascinating to see how the 13 system has been used by so many cultures across the world. We're also exploring, as part of our journey with the 13 moons, is how there's a 13 Celtic tree moon calendar, which is very, very seasonal, because the Celts were very earth-based people, or the Druids were very earth-based people. And so they did everything by seasons. And like you said, with the Western astrology, it's very good at the seasonal stuff, but it does keep you in the system because it's designed to do that. Maybe as part of the hijacking of time, the two go hand in hand. So there's a few other things we'd like to talk to you about, but let's have a look at the astrology now and see.
Lots of things we like.
Yeah, there's lots of things. So I'm just going to bring up. So I helped Vasumi put some slides together here. So I'll just pop them up, and you can sort of talk us through the things that have been on your mind with these incoming convergences. So these are the two charts. I pulled up the 13 sign sidereal for you, Vasumi, because I know that you're on the road at the moment, didn't have access, and then I pulled up the more traditional Western tropical system. So I know that there was some trines and various other aspects that you had looked at in this convergence. It's incoming here for the 15th of October. So what would you like to speak of in regard to this?
Okay, so when I pulled up the 15th of October, which I think, and I think I've got it at around 3 in the morning here in New Zealand, what stood out to me for that as this convergence was there were two grand trines, and one of the grand trines has Venus, Uranus, and Pluto in Earth signs, with Neptune as two sextiles, the sextiles between Uranus and Pluto, as the pulling back on the bow that aims towards Venus, and so what I feel with this convergence is that, in the feminine, the Venus with Uranus bringing transformation, and Pluto, Uranus bringing the revolution, if you like, and Pluto the transformation, and then pulling back Neptune, the feeling of all of this so the trine is an earth trine, so it's the feeling of the earth. So what it brings to me is, the love of the earth, the feminine grounding in the earth, grounding our feminine into the earth, into the loving of, because the Venus is in Virgo.
Yep.
So, the great earth mother. Yeah, what's that?
Most of the interactions of 3i Atlas are going to happen in the constellation of Virgo. So with Mars, with the Sun, and with Venus, is like the cosmic activation is happening in the sign of the great goddess, of the sacred feminine.
Yeah. Of the sacred feminine, of the earth mother, of the Virgo, to feel the earth, to actually get people to be grounded enough bodies so that they understand, or they understand that, we can't keep doing what we're doing to the earth.
Right.
Like that consciousness, to shift that consciousness. Maybe the 3i comes as a warning of like, hey, you guys, get embodied, get in your bodies.
Yeah.
So that's the feminine side, but then also at the same time you've got another grand trine which is less able to be seen here, but that works with, what have we got? We've got so I work a lot with different asteroids, and so what we've got, Chronos, which is time. Chronos is in that map on the right side in the 12th house, the first little symbol there.
Oh, right.
That's Chronos.
So it's completely different to Saturn energy.
Asteroid.
Yeah, it's an asteroid. It's Chronos is time, right? Synchronicity in time, and Chronos. Yeah, so Chronos, and then that's trining Mars, so representing the masculine connection with Chronos, with exploring time. This is an air trine, so the masculine mental plane, looking at timelines. So then I look at Mukua and Reuben, and then that has a grand trine to the north node in Aquarius.
See it? Yeah.
Which is so the masculine side of ourselves aiming for that Aquarian model.
Right.
The masculine mind looking to the Aquarian model. and it has a pullback on that bow of the South Node in Leo, going from
We're talking
me
about
as
this one here at 21 degrees of Gemini. Is that the one we're talking about?
yes, we're talking that one, Kronos, and then going down to Mars.
Down to Mars. Yeah. Okay. We see it.
Mars is in Libra.
Yep. Yep.
So that masculine looking for the ways of peace
Mhm.
through sharing information about time.
Yep.
That makes a trine up there to the North Node in Aquarius.
Yep.
And so the South Node is where that, there's two sextiles from Kronos and Mars to that South Node point in Leo.
Mm-hmm.
So pulling back to feel into what it is to be sovereign, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And to take that sovereignty and pierce through into, with our mental plane, into what it is to have the freedom of interconnection, the Aquarian model. Something like that. That's what just came. It was like, wow, so the feminine is needing to get embodied. The feminine side of each one of us is to come and to feel the earth and to lie on the earth, and then our minds are to get focused on that future of equality, of what is going to be needed to track timelines, to get aligned in right timing, so that we can focus all our masculine energy on into peace, Libra, Mars, Libra.
Yep.
To and Gemini to share about our experiences of timelines, so that we can go from the king, being the king, into the Aquarian model of equality, and everything that Aquarius represents to us, and the higher sciences, etc., etc.
A different way of leadership, a leadership through the heart and through being part of the collective, not above it, but part of the collective.
Yes.
Ruling in community. And you know what else is beautiful? That Merkaba that is formed there, the 6-pointed star. So you could say one of them has Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, so it's more masculine. And then we have the other one, which would represent the feminine. So it's like the masculine and feminine coming together and activating the Merkaba. Perfect balance.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes, so beautiful.
I like it.
And that's on the 14th for you guys, the 15th over here, which is also what is it? It's solar seed on the 14th, which is interesting because that's my psychrono, and I'm only just kind of getting a deeper sense of what is the psychrono for each one of us. And a friend of what's that?
Solar seed and planetary serpent is the two.
That's right. Yeah, and so that's a little bit, solar seed is a bit like that, aiming for that, because it's in the warrior wave spell. So it's getting focused on seeding that new potential, which is a bit like that, the masculine trine, and then planetary serpent, and manifesting it through being super embodied with the very vitality of our physical body.
We see it as the integration of the masculine and feminine serpent energy within ourselves, and going up the Kundalini and activating the crown chakra for us, which is the process of ascension of our own life force energy and our Kundalini energy for full awakening.
Right. And
yes,
we've been tracking the Corona Borealis and waiting for that to do its thing. And that's, very much connected to the crown chakra. And of course, we were watching somebody else the other day who was alluding to some of the events of the last year, the so-called Crown V that people were being affected by, and understanding these were the two different sort of trajectories that people could choose in 2021, whether they went down the offered medications route or whether they continued to be more organic. And it's all connected to the crown. And, we've discovered a lot of things that need to be looked at around the crown chakra over the last 4 years because of what happened in 2021, and realizing that this was the place where you can be disconnected from your divine self, and this is a place that can be hijacked if you're not paying attention. So all of this is, you know, the whole crown aspect is super important to this process right now.
The whole of mind perceiver
Right?
is what we need to protect, because it's where we activate our multidimensionality as well.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Absolutely. That's what I love about you guys. You know, I over time I've tuned in every now and then to what you guys bring to the people, and I'm always so excited because it's so on track with what I experience and what I know. And so I'm super grateful for you guys for, you know, it seems that each one of us has a time when we're outreaching into the world through this model, through this the phones and the internet, etc. And, you know, I did it years ago, and I did 4 years every day. I was putting out videos and writing up whole things. It's all on the website there, but it feels like it's now you guys' time, and you're doing such an excellent job. I just want to commend you, you know, for what you're bringing forward, and the revelations that you're getting and sharing, which are, you know, pretty much collective anyway. And but just having, yeah, so beautiful.
It is our fourth round of the Soul Kin doing the quantum compass. But just before, we were going to say, okay, we'll just do 3, and that should be enough for people to share.
Yeah.
And no, we were meant to do 13 moons as well, because that is the layer that could actually bring even more people into the awareness. Some people could just follow the 13 moons, and that is already a big alignment with the moon and the cycles of the earth and the sacred feminine. More people will integrate the soul kin as well. And then that is another layer. Some will bring the astrology. So we want to give the option to people to, you know, jump with whatever resonates with you and to the level that you want to assimilate it and have the capacity and time to do so. So that is the approach.
Yeah. So just before I move on to the next slide, looking at the end of October, Vasumi, for those of us looking at this who don't know, some of these signs are new to us. So we have this one here in the 11th house that's forming a square across to Saturn. Which asteroid or object is this?
Hold on, let me put my glasses back on. I think that's Zjikaa. Yeah, that's Zjikaa. So Zjikaa, to me, Zjikaa is that space, you know, when you're holding space when, say, someone's dying and you go into non-personality, you're just holding a space holder, a bit like a world bridger. You're just very surrendered, and you're just a space holder. So that's Zjikaa to me. And the square it's making over there, actually I'll need to go a bit, can I make that bigger? Oh yeah, to Pallas Athene. Yeah, which is with Pluto there. So a square from Zjikaa in Gemini to Pallas Athene in Capricorn. So, okay, so what is that? So Pallas Athene is in Capricorn. So that's the warrior woman. For me, Pallas Athene is like Mars, but Mars is just pure energy, whereas Pallas Athene has a mission. Like she's a warrior with a cause.
Yeah.
And her cause is Capricorn, and Pluto in Capricorn. So it's the breaking down of that patriarchal system.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the spell of the warrior. So that makes sense also, right? That this would be activated.
Yes. Yeah. And especially with Pallas Athene on Pluto, that just energizes Pluto so strongly. And Pluto's in that job anyway of, isn't it? It's so funny in the tropical astrology where we have Pluto, you know, everyone's talking about the Aquarian age and as though Pluto's already done Capricorn, but we've still got this system that thinks it's overlording us, and so the Capricorn system is no way. I mean, I know that Pluto went through Sagittarius and dismembered the church, you know, and all the things came out, and then nobody really, you know, only those that are pure Jesus devotees, you know, there's not much faith in the church anymore in Rome and all of that. So Pluto did its job in Sag, but it's only half halfway through or a little way through its job in Capricorn and dislodging the power over system.
You're
So
right. What it did was to show people all of their beliefs were maybe a little bit skewed. Many of them were fake. Many of them were limiting. Full stop. They
that's
were
right.
limiting their potential. So I do agree. I think Pluto is just about to start showing us the collapse of the systems, and we need
Yeah.
to start thinking, what do we want? Because we are the ones in charge of creating the new one. Everybody that is now in this new frequency, what do you see for the new world? We can't just think of destruction. We need to think of creation as well, building up.
And that's exactly, isn't it, what that 12th, the 14th, 15th, you know, that Venus, getting embodied. So then we can focus our minds and open that crown that your spirit, the hollow mind perceiver, open the crown to receive actually what and to communicate with each other and follow synchronicities. And so the codes are so important for that, like all codes, all magic codes, to show us synchronicities, to show us our own very unique paths, that we follow the signs that show us how each one of us uniquely unfolding and evolving, so that we can focus, what is that Aquarian? What is it when we come together? And it's the acceptance of difference. It's the acceptance of the uniqueness of each being. Like say for you, Bella, self-existing moon guided by the serpent, like your mind is very quick to pick up how to bridge worlds, and it picks up concepts very quickly, and then cosmic skywalker to really anchor what it is to care, to hold the very presence of that dragon wave spell, of the ability to respond to the needs of the people. And are you guided by the moon? Let me just
by the earth.
What is
guided by the earth?
By the earth. Well, there you go. And so like to help to awaken the earth, to birth the new reality
count as well. So it's kind of like the embodiment of the Skywalker, the heavenly aspect of the Skywalker, and then the earth as the grounding point, which is what Ben or the read is all about. So Ruben was telling this the other day, and I was like, that's fascinating, weaving the different threads. There was something I was going to our sister and friend Leslie Shankman, who we do a lot of work with, the Stellar Nations pathway, looking at the constellational archetypal energies. She shared something that I think she'd read in the Arcturus probe just a few days ago, talking about time sharing, not in the sense of properties or anything, but in terms of the timeshare of how to communicate over vast distances using telepathy, which is something we're starting to experience in our tribe through doing conjoined meditations or doing ceremonies in different parts of the world at the same time. And
even the immersions
and sending, we call them astral memos. We send a little memo notes to each other that we want to communicate, and then we'll receive them in meditation, and then we'll get a message from the person. So we've been playing around with this a little bit, but again, coming back to this corona or crown chakra aspect, none of that is really possible to do if you're disconnected here. You're kind of cut off from the universal system through which everything flows. So there's so much to all of this, but I really feel that this 15th of October is the sort of clarion call. It's like, it's here. And then 2 weeks later, so if we just skip on, we're here at this point, which feels very, very relevant for lots of reasons. And we keep seeing visions of whatever this 3-eye atlas actually is. And everyone has a theory on it right now. And some of them are pretty funky and some of them are a little dry, but it will emerge. This is going to pass right close to the sun, and it feels like it's going to get activated with the universal fire of that big golden disc in the sky, whatever we perceive it to be currently, as it passes by, so that when it comes closer to Earth a little bit later on in the cycle, it's going to transmit that information to us here on Earth. So it's kind of like there's a sequence of ignition, activation, and then delivery onto the planet. And of course, this is all going to be happening in Virgo in the 13 sign system. So I pulled up the chart using the software that we have. And you can still see that there's a big trine now.
You know what the feeling is of the seeding moment.
Yeah.
It's like when the cosmic seed gets planted here in the constellation of Virgo, when the sun is in the last few degrees of Virgo, Venus is right in the middle, almost in the womb space. So it feels like it's just that fertilization moment or cosmic activation, and then things start to happen very soon after that. It's really beautiful.
Right, and in this case, I think the arrow, the bow and arrow is also there, but this time it's pointing towards Jupiter. I feel with Moon at the base in that grand trine that's happening there with Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune and Saturn. So it's shifted a little bit again, and now the emphasis is on expansion, but within the sign of Gemini. So that's also intriguing. Do you have any thoughts on that, Vasumi?
Well, I'm just seeing like Jupiter in Gemini, so it's the expansion of our, brother sisterhood, isn't it? The kin, seeing ourselves as kin, and that it's the power of the people, maybe, So, and then the moon being in, what is it there? Is that in
Sagittarius?
It's in Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. So going from Sagittarius into Gemini, so feeling that the awakening, Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, or Jupiter that's ruled by Sagittarius, and feeling that and then aiming for it. And it's being helped by Neptune and by Saturn.
Where are you looking?
Yeah.
North Node,
Yes,
Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres. No,
that's too far off, though.
Yeah, but Saturn, and what Saturn is in Pisces, is it?
it's in Pisces. Yes.
Yeah, Saturn in Pisces. So creating the structure of flow. So interesting when you get Saturn in Pisces, right?
And bringing
the structure.
the spirituality factor, which needs to be part of the new system. If we're creating a new system, at the core of it should be our spirituality, which has been relegated or just externalized by giving it to a religion, when spirituality should come from inside of us and our deep connection to source, God, energy, however you want to call it, and to each other and nature. So I think this is a new way of looking at spirituality as well.
And also with
and I guess also, when you have Saturn in Pisces, what immediately comes to me, that's the codes. What is the most simple way of flowing is to have a structure, Saturn, time. The most simple structure of time and synchronicity is the Zolkin. I'm probably very biased in that, but to me, I work with a lot of all the magical systems, and to me, the magical system that is the most simple, the most easy, the most effective is the Zolkin. So, the Saturn creating that structure for that flow of synchronicity, and Neptune right there as well, at home in Pisces. And then what was the other one? It's Mars in Libra. So again, Mars, using that masculine energy for peace, for peace of mind. Along with Lilith,
Yeah, wow. And another aspect.
Lilith coming into peace, right?
She's been healing a lot. So I feel that she's ready to integrate and be part of the round table rather than causing any chaos. I think she's ready to play with everybody nicely.
And also, I like the fact that the moon is kind of on the drawstring in Sagittarius, the realm of the spiritual adventurer, pointing the arrow to Jupiter and asking us to expand it into what you've just shared. And I feel that we are now at the beginning of, for those who wish to embark on a spiritual adventure, the possibility to do exactly that. But it does require, a bit like the old pioneers and travelers who would, travel across the sea, the Vikings and, some of the Templars maybe, and these other well-known seafarers. But they always traveled across knowing that they had to leave the old world behind with the possibility that they would never see it again. And I feel that we're being asked the same thing. Can you let go of the old world that you lived in, the old system, probably full of pain and trauma from all of the things that the system's done to you since you were a kid, and let go of all of that and step into a world of flow, but filled with spiritual adventure. And I think that
Yes.
we all need that, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what's happened to me in the last while. Is like letting go of being in four walls and being in a moving container, my van, with on a convoy with 6, 7, 8 other vehicles, people, and traveling from Waitangi in the north of the North Island all the way down the west coast of the North, and then the South Island all the way to the bottom of the South Island. And some of us even went over to Rakiora, which is Stewart Island, and then coming up the east coast, and connecting people all the way, flying with a flag of Whakaputanga, He Whakaputanga, which is on the 28th of October in 1835 or 6, I'm not quite, 36, I think, it was the Maori signed with the Crown a document that gave where Maori people did not cede their sovereignty. And so that is a document that holds for New Zealand and for all tangata whenua of New Zealand. And tangata whenua means people of the land. And you are tangata whenua of New Zealand if you have had 3 generations, whatever, Māori, white people, any people. Yeah, so it's tangata whenua. So sovereignty, for those people not ceding their sovereignty to the Crown, to the power of the system. And so we are traveling with this flag for the last 3 months, and, parking in places where it says no camping, and because there's a few of us traveling that are much more rebellious even than me, and they want to engage with the representatives of the system, like the police. And so we go and camp where it says no camping, and we have our flag. And so this opens up conversations. We've had loads of conversations everywhere we go with police, and educating them around the flag, especially in the South Island and the North Island. They know about it a lot more, but in the South Island, to educate and just the lay people. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience to see that when you walk beyond the fear matrix, nothing, and you're just sharing the love and you're sharing the peace. Mm-hmm. And we go and camp somewhere and we pick up all the rubbish everywhere. We look after it. We're tangata whanua. We're what we call kaitiaki, which are, like those that look after the earth. Yep. And we're setting this example that nothing bad happens, actually. Mm-hmm. And so this has been a wonderful experience for me and for all of us to see that when we actually stand in our sovereign being and connected super strongly with spirit and our hearts and the earth, that actually this revolution is possible.
Right. And you know what? This is really interesting because, everything you've just shared comes under this point that we're in, which is the solar maximum. And our friend and colleague, Stefan Burns, who tracks all of these things on his own YouTube channel, actually did a show, I think it was yesterday, where he had all of the revolutions that had happened and they all mirrored the solar maximum period. So we're actually in that period again, and all of the work that you're doing and sharing, and again, the synchronicity with October the 28th, and this idea of sovereignty and freedom coming through, and all of the things that you've just shared, it's very much in the ethers right now that this is what wants to happen, that we want to be able to really declare ourselves as sovereign citizens of New Earth, that we are free, that we're not bound by the systems, and you're taking it on the road and delivering it to people.
And it's an incredible revelation. And so this is the encouragement to people to step out of, the worlds that are contained and limited, and expand into the fullness of one's being. That is the revolution. And as long as we're doing that in what we call tikapuno aroha, which means, following the tika is to follow the natural rightness reciprocity, giving to receive and giving and receiving.
Mhm.
And puno, which is, you know, connecting with spirit very strongly, and aroha of the heart.
Beautiful.
This is the revolution. And wherever we go, what blows me away is that the conversations we're having is that people are all recognizing that it is time.
Yes.
Everywhere we go, everyone we talk to, and they're looking at us and they're going, oh yeah, we have to do this now. And so we feel like the journey we've just done is the first one.
Beautiful.
And that there will be another one, and possibly another one after that, and the numbers will grow. And I do feel like, as you spoke earlier, that New Zealand is the place where the revolution will begin. You know, of turning back those tides.
I think where the revolutions didn't go right in the past is that there was violence and there was a lack of respect and there were many things. But now it's through consciousness and all of the other things you just said, through love and respect and reciprocity. That is the way forward. But first we needed to do so much shadow work so that many people could reach the levels of consciousness. And you're right. When you do talk to other people, they feel the signs that it is now. It is the moment to go forward with this. And congratulations for everything you're doing. It sounds like lots of fun. And you're leading
so
your full rhythmic monkey self.
So, Vasumi,
Yes.
before we wrap up today in the last sort of 10 minutes or so, there is something I wanted to ask you about with part of the work that you're doing in New Zealand, because we've had private chats about this. And you were telling me that the people, the Maori people, some of them have taken the dream spell, the 1320 calendar, and kind of fused it into their own understanding, which is something that we've seen with other sort of indigenous communities across the world. I mean, the Celtic people did it through using 13 moon system, but with trees, which was very seasonal. You know, as we're learning, the trees for each of the moons is very much when the tree is at its strength, and we're learning about the energetic qualities of it. So do you have anything that you can share from your experiences or interactions with the Maori people or those that are working with the system?
Okay, so this has been something inside of me for many years, that I've known that somewhere the overlay of the Zolkin and Mauritanga is there, because, you know, a part of me has a deep feeling that these codes were actually received in New Zealand at the time of Mu. And there's a place called Te Kohanga, or Castle Hill, which is called the birthplace of the gods, where I believe these codes got received.
Wow.
And there's no proof of that other than a feeling.
Yeah.
And we shall see what happens over time. Could be a load of bollocks. Always got to put that out there.
You know what? I mean, a lot of this stuff is very intuitive for Sumi. I mean, sometimes the whole work that Jose brought through originally is criticized because it's not the original version that comes from Guatemala or Belize. And that, you know, there maybe some people love to work with the version that they know is meant to be original. But if we say that even about the time codes, if we think about the Gregorian calendar, there was time before that. And that was put into place. And so I like to think that the information that we receive that is intuitive is coming directly from the cosmos and from the galactics. And I think perhaps we can trust that more than we can trust the history books in some cases.
I don't think there is a good or a bad one. My take on it is that the ancient calendar had a function. It is with the ancient Mayans that were more connected to the earth, and it was perfect to keep those records and everything they were doing.
Yeah.
But then Jose and Lloydin bring the future, bring the cosmic, bring the galactic codes, which is our future, where we're moving towards. And we need both of them, I think. We need to make sure that they also connect so that there is coherence moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, and also, you know, I've been in Mexico at different gatherings, and there'll be like 6, 7 different people saying, my Zolkin is the right one, and my Zolkin is the right one, and my, you know, because there's different tribes.
Right, that's what I'm talking
And so when I was working with those questions that I had, the quest ion, what I realized is the Zolkin itself is the key. And the Zolkin has a natural evolution. And whenever you put your consciousness into that pattern, no matter, you could call today resonant wind. But if you have a whole group of people that are tracking resonant wind, that will reveal itself to you, because we are all in every, but what is constant is the order of that evolution. And so the Guatemala Maya work with their calendar, different tribes of Maya covered a vast distance of Central and into South America. And there were many tribes, and they had different Zolkins. And so what I know with the dream spell was in existence in the up into the 600s, and 682 with the sealing of Palenque and the tomb of Palenque, and then the Maya left Palenque, and then the jungle grew over those temples, and then the colonizers came 150 years later and destroyed all the codices everywhere, but they missed this one. And so and then that was revealed in 1952 by Alberto Rose, the archaeologist. And so in time for Jose having received his transmission on Teotihuacan of being the bringer of the end of the cycle, that there's a whole coding around the dream spell that is for this time. And yes, I agree. Some people, like there has to be the balance. This is the revolution, the balance of the logic and the intuitive. Mm-hmm. So it's not to now make the intuitive more and the logic less. And that's the beauty of the codes, is that they're equal in the logic that then allows the intuitive, the left and right brain, the masculine and feminine sides of ourselves. They have to be balanced. That is the revolution. It's not that the feminine, now it's like this in the mainstream, but yes, it has to be this. So to honor the logic and to honor the intuitive together. Yes. So, and just because I want to do a plug for this dear brother, you asked about the Maori and the codes coming together. So I have a dear brother who's also a rhythmic monkey, which is wonderful because I love to watch him in his sharings. He's on YouTube, he's on Instagram and Facebook as Nuku Inc, Nuku, and then space Inc, INK, because he's a tattooist of traditional moko tattoo, and he worked with the dream spell for 5 years or so. And he has now seen, and he's wonderful to watch and witness. He looks really wild. He's got some tattoos all down his face. Don't be scared by that. He's beautiful and beautiful heart and wild. And he has brought the codes. The Zolkin has shown him how, in his vast knowledge also of all of the Maori gods and goddesses, how that overlays. And so it's very, very exciting for me. I will be meeting him soon in person. We've been communicating texts and stuff because he had seen my videos years ago, and so now we're finally going to be meeting soon. But Nuku Inc., and he has wonderful revelations around so much. He has an incredible food forest that he has planted, and he has a lot of information around plants and healing. So this will be really great for you guys. And the codes and Māoritanga. So I look forward to connecting you guys. I've to ask him if he's open to that, and to create that bridge, that world bridging that we do. But yeah, so that in Māoritanga, and I have done one with one workshop in with a lot of Maori people. That was really beautiful, and I find that when I'm sharing the codes with Maori people, they get it really quickly. They because then they only have colonization of the last 200 years, and so they're not so far away from that more raw natural order. Yeah, so I find they receive the codes real simply and really quickly, so that's very exciting.
Well,
Yeah.
if the natural frequency,
Yeah.
the 1320 and the 1328, it should be more natural for more people, especially those that, as you say, haven't been colonized for too long.
Right,
Yeah.
and as we're learning, Vasumi, you know, whether it's the Maori, the Celtic people, the Lakota people, the indigenous people of South America, they all have pretty much the same system. But what we're seeing is it's just cultural differences. The trees might be different, the plants might be different, they might interpret the moons differently, but they're still following it in pretty much the same order. Maybe some of them have got a little distorted over time as these things happen, you know, or maybe some of the dates or things have slipped. But in principle, we're seeing that this is a worldwide phenomenon. And I was fascinated by what you said there of the link back to Mu, possibly in a very, very ancient time space, and the codes being received there at the birthplace of the gods, which is also how we refer to Teotihuacan, right? So, you know, we have similar stories across the planet, and it seems that at some time they were all perhaps incepted in the same way. So this is a big story that is going to continue for sure. So
Yes.
you know, thank you
That
so
place,
much. Yeah, go on.
that place, the birthplace of the gods. We were there a few weeks ago, and Freddie Silver found the calendar stone. So you know how you go to many ancient sites, and there is often that calendar stone that kind of has a face on the top. So there's one there that was found, and all the other rocks and everything are slanting this way, and there's that one calendar stone that is going the other way. So it's really yeah, it's very obvious. And then knowing about that place, Te Kohanga, the birthplace of the gods, in those times it would have been underwater. And then, so what I got when I was sitting at the calendar stone, and actually also with Marotini, which is up at another part of all of that whole stones, huge stones, I got that it was all underwater, and water being a conductor, and that the people of Mu lived underwater, and that's how they received the codes, because water is the conductor.
Correct. Makes
So
it
that was the latest receiving, and you know, like this is the beauty of the codes, is that it allows us to give value to what we receive, because we are all receivers, and we are all like, who's to say that it's not that? You know, who has a greater, you know, authority over me and what I receive? Nobody, because it's direct. And so that's a potential. And that's the beauty of the codes, is that it gives us, that it empowers each of us as a sovereign being to give value to what we receive, and not to deny and make smaller than and all of that, but just to give value without attachment to what we receive.
The beauty of all of us being part of the puzzle, all of us have something to contribute to the greater puzzle. If you think of all of the 260 archetypes or galactic signatures, we all have the energy that actually complements or is part of a wave spell, and it has a mission, it has an intention. And if we're able to synchronize, everything start moving in that direction. The amount of synchronicities that we experience, the amount of amazing people like you that we have met along the path and continue to meet, the networking that is happening is absolutely beautiful.
In fact, it's more synchronistic most of the time than not synchronistic, to be honest. And I, you know, having lived in that way for quite a while, working with plants like dandelion, who encourages very much to be in the moment, and everything is perfectly timed, and you know, and then coming into this system and, you know, working with the plants still and putting them into the system, it's just brought everything into a place of synchronicity. And what we've noticed more is that as we moved into that, we've stopped worrying about stuff quite so much. You know, the stresses that would be there, you learn to trust the flow. And, You know, we were joking the other day in our tribe, is like when we come to organize things like gatherings, we're very trusting about the process. And one of our sisters said, you know what, we could organize a gathering tomorrow, and if you're meant to be there, you'll be there. So don't worry about organizing something 2 months down the road and getting your plans laid out and your accommodation and your breakfast offerings and everything else, because, you know, it's like you're in your head with that, and just go with the flow. And to many people who've been brought up in the West, it can seem like tricky, because we're programmed Monday to Friday. You have to go to work 9 to 5, Saturday and Sunday, it's your day off. You can take time out, hit pause. And you know, in the 1320 system, that doesn't apply. You're always flowing into the next day and the next glyph as part of an unfolding storyline. So beautiful to connect with you, Vasumi. We want to give you the quick opportunity just to plug your website, which I've pulled up here to share, because we have a lot of brothers and sisters who are in New Zealand and Australia. In fact, we've managed to connect you with quite a few of them already. So I just thought I'd bring this up. And can people connect you here or through your YouTube page?
Yes, here or through my YouTube page, or through Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Vasumi with a Z, because I lost my other, it got hacked. So that's on Instagram, Vasumi with a Z on the end. On Facebook is Vasumi Zjikaa, and it's a side profile. You'll see it if you just put Vasumi. There's very few Vasumis on the planet. Here on this website, it connects you with my YouTube. And yeah, there's a podcast, which I haven't done much on lately. I haven't been so much online in this time. Just something that I wanted to add, though. If you go to shop up the top there, then you'll see where the calendars. So there's a 13 moon calendar that I make every year. If people are in America, don't order, because we can't ship from Australia or New Zealand to America anymore. And better anyway, if you're in America, you have lower postage, go to 13moon.com, and that's Eden Sky's wall calendar. But if you're in the Australasian area or in Europe, you can order my 13 moon wall calendar. The only reason I made that was during COVID. We couldn't get the ones from Eden Sky down in the Australasia. So there's sessions on there. There's also the Tracking Time Codes book up the top there, which is my attempt to make very simple the codes and how to follow them. Yeah, it's a workbook that is a lifelong workbook, because it also has the 441 and all of Jose's latest and last transmissions before he left. Right. There was one thing I wanted to add just to our conversation before we began this plugging, was that when we receive things, you know, say when I received that, you know, moo and water and transmitting the codes into there, is to hold what we receive very lightly. Yeah. To not be attached to, because then I will have a conversation with someone else and they will have had received something that adds to that, or maybe subtracts from it. To be very open, to be non-attached, is a very important piece in the evolution of consciousness, because then when we join together, that piece adds to other pieces and creates a whole other piece. So yeah, just to bring that in, that's a really important place to sit, is non-attachment to any of it, because it's all evolving, and just giving gratitude for the moment and what's received in the moment, and as a potential. Yeah.
Wow,
that just felt like
that's such an important point. Yes. Attachments and aversions, the root of all of our sufferings, as all good Buddhist students will know. And it's true. Yes. So take everything beautifully, lightly, with love and with respect.
You know my mantra.
Go on.
Keep it empty.
Keeping it empty, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then it can be so full.
Right. And if you keep
it everything empty, and the nothing.
If you keep it empty, yes, for sure you're keeping it real, and that's equally important.
Yes, exactly. So beautiful.
Very delightful. Thank you so much for me. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you so much for your time, putting this work out in the world and doing it so efficiently and beautifully and with so much love. So I really, really appreciate it.
And, thank you so much for supporting other tribe members. I see one of our tribe left a testimonial, which is really nice. So the connections are already there. And so, this is really also a shout out to our brothers and sisters in New Zealand and Australia. Please do connect with this wonderful lady who will help you in whatever way you need, because you are 17 hours in the future from us. And sometimes it's a little difficult from this side of the planet. So blessings to you, sister, on your path and all of the work that you're doing and everything that you're doing on the road. We know that it's so important. And for some reason, as we are discovering, both New Zealand and weirdly Scotland, that New Zealand is very connected to, are very much a part of what is incoming. But there's a big mystery, and the mystery is part of that Sagittarian spiritual adventure for us all to unfold and unpack for ourselves. So blessings again to you, Vasumi, in Lakesh.
Yay. In Lakesh, Alakin. Thank you so much, you fellas. And to everyone out there, big love, big heart. And what was that thing that you said, Bella?
Keep it empty.
Keep it empty. Exactly. All righty, everybody. We'll see you all again next week for the next episode. Bye for now.